Hello, how's everyone doing today? Awesome. Well, my name is Elaine. I am one of the founders of Neon Owl. We are a music community and artist collective. We do a lot of different events like these, shows. We have a big artist community, so you guys can find out more about us. Come chat with us afterwards. There's some stuff posted around as well. So I'm really excited to talk about creating longevity in the music business, and we have a ton of amazing guests here with us today. I'm gonna have them introduce themselves really quick, and at the end of your introduction, you're just gonna share how many years have you been in the music industry. So I'll pass the mic to Thomas first.
Hey everybody, Thomas, but I go by Tommy. I'm the director of A&R Create Music Group, also a producer and DJ myself. How many years we've been in music? Well, I guess officially, professionally since 2018, so whatever, 7 years, something like that. But I've been, dabbling far longer than that. Probably most of my life, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lauren Anderson. I work in record label management and music distribution. I started off at Create, actually, with Darlene and Tommy, working in distribution, and I also represent LabelWorx UK distribution in North America. I also freelance and manage some house and techno record labels in the US and in the EU, like Black Book Records, Maison Arts, and a few other boutique labels. Oh, I have been in the industry for 7 years.
Okay. Hello, I am Darlene Hall. I am the Director of Distribution at Create Music Group. I also am label manager for some bass music labels such as Cyclops Recordings, Welcome Records, Divided Souls, and a few other ones. I have been in the industry for 10 years.
Check. Hi. My name's Clayton William. I'm a Billboard charting and Grammy nominated producer, songwriter, audio engineer, DJ remixer, and I'm an A&R at Empire Records here in San Francisco. I've been professionally doing music for about 15 years, but started making music when I was about 12. So it's been an incredible journey. I'm excited to be here.
Hi everyone, my name is Jana, and I'm a producer, DJ, singer-songwriter. I've been doing my project for about 6 years now, and I've been doing some electronic music and dance pop recently.
Hi, I'm Linney. I am a artist, songwriter, producer, DJ. I'm also a new host on Insomniac Radio every day. I have had the good fortune to be able to do some incredible things this year, like perform at the Sphere with Subtronics, who's on Cyclops. He owns Cyclops. And I had a couple songs on the Billboard dance charts in the last couple years. And I guess I've been doing music for 10 years, but EDM probably for like 5 or 6.
Awesome. And I've been in the music industry for 10 years. So let's get started with what got you into music and what got you started in the music industry. So let's start with Linney first.
I was like one of those weird kids when I was 4 or 5 that I was like, I'm gonna sing and dance and act and do all of that and write songs about everything that happened to me every day. So it was no surprise that I wanted to chase that down. I went to school actually for musical theater in Boston at Emerson and Berkeley, and then I chased that to an internship in LA at Warner Music in the sync department, which led me to country pop, which led me to indie pop, and then I started getting asked to do dance records, and I fell in love with it. So yeah.
I've been doing music for my entire life. I'm classically trained. I went to the conservatory, the San Francisco Conservatory of Music, right by Civic Center, and I studied film scoring, game scoring, and then I went to a rave, and I was like, this is really cool, so I'm gonna start doing EDM. And then, yeah, I started to learn how to make electronic dance music and just started to market myself online and build a social media presence. And yeah, here I am today.
So for me, I started as like a singer, songwriter on piano with guitarists. That was kind of like my introduction into music. My mom played the piano, my dad played the guitar. But growing up in the Bay Area, I was introduced to hyphy music very young. So I started making hip hop beats, and I started raving at like 16. So then I got into like Dirty Bird and a bunch of those kind of events. And then that just kind of it led me into kind of finding this fusion between hip hop music and electronic music. And that led me to then moving to Los Angeles. And in Los Angeles, I got to work with artists like Justin Bieber and remix Chris Brown and worked with Walshy Fire from Major Lazer. And then when I came over to Empire, that's when we started Empire Dance. And so it's been really cool to kind of put all of those genres and different abilities to create different styles of music into one kind of breath. Like at Empire, we have a team in Asia, we have a team in Latin America, we have a country department, we have an electronic department, and obviously we have a hip hop and R&B department. So for me as a producer and writer, I've been able to work in many different genres, but also kind of leaning into my most passionate genres, which is electronic music, and I've been able to fuse all the global beats into that as well.
I was also raving when I was like 16 and I absolutely loved it. So when I graduated high school, I tried to do the regular college route and was like, what do I want to do? And tried to do business admin and I was like, I hate this. And so it took me a while to figure out that there was a music industry and like that you could be a part of it because I always saw it from the fan side only. And so I actually went to Musicians Institute. They have a booth out here. Go check them out. And they had a certificate program at the time for music business. So I went through that. And then as soon as I graduated with that, they got accredited. And so I was one of the first 3 people to graduate with their Associates of Science degree at MI. And then they had set me up with an internship at a PR firm. And the PR firm hired me. Once I graduated, I quickly realized I wanted nothing to do with PR. I went back to waiting tables for a bit and realized, I needed to do what I wanted to do, what I was passionate about. And that's when I found Create, and I interned for 4 months, and then they hired me, and now I run the department that I originally was interning in. So I've been there for 7 years.
Similar to Linney, I've always been interested in the performing arts. I started in dance, was acting for quite a long time, and eventually found music and playing instruments. In middle school, I started listening to electronic music, and throughout high school, between you and I would be interested in a fake ID, but not one that would say I'm 21, one that would say I'm 18 to get me into festivals. Didn't end up doing that, but was very interested. And once I did start raving at 18, I wanted to be closer to the community and find ways to get involved. So I started working for a nonprofit organization called Plurangels in health and safety, where we'd go to festivals and club events and just check on people's well-being, working with medical teams and yada yada. And when COVID hit, I still wanted to find a way to become involved, so I started reaching out to local record labels, and the rest was history.
So for me, it was partially by accident. I remember, I think when I was in 6th grade, however old you are in 6th grade, like 10 or 11, I was like signing up for it was like the first year where you take multiple classes, right? And there was this thing called an elective. I'm just like, I'm gonna sign up for orchestra and play the viola. So like, I guess that sounds interesting. So I checked that box, and then from there I learned quite a lot of instruments. But my active interest in music, aside from just an instrument that I play at home, probably came when I first found pop punk, like NoFX and Blink-182 and all that stuff. Back in I don't know how old people are here, but this was 1999 or something like that. So yeah, and that's when I was like, I wanted to be in a band, and I wanted to like tour and write songs and all that stuff. So yeah, that's where it started for me.
I'll say I'm the third person where it started at a rave as well, so I got a little bit of a later start. My brother actually, Ray, he's somewhere here, he invited me to my first festival, EDC. So it was like, that was like my first experience of not electronic music, but an experience, like a festival. And I really fell in love with it, and I was working corporate at the time, and it wasn't very fulfilling. And so one day I was like, you know what? I don't think the artist path is for me, but I love community and charity and bringing people together, so let me start this thing, Neon Owl, and I asked if my brother would want to start it with me, and that was a little over 10 years ago. So I want to touch on breaking into the music industry first before we talk about longevity. And a lot of people often think that it's this mysterious thing, right? You don't really go to school to learn how to get into the music business, or really, you might learn the art, right, behind an artist, but you don't figure out how to get started at a record label or a different company, or how to like break as an artist. So why don't we start with you two, since you said you started at Plur Angels and then you interned. So how would you recommend folks get started in the music industry on the back end, and then we'll move to some of the artists?
On the back end, I think it's about knowing what you're really interested in. So finding out what it is you like, and maybe reaching out to the people who do inspire you. Most often than not, I find that people are really willing to help and really willing to be supportive and teach you or guide you. So I think finding a mentor could be very helpful, or finding a team that you'd be interested in volunteering with could be very good. And if you don't know what you're interested in, I think that's also an exciting point. So trying out all the things, and maybe willing to meet new people to try these things. Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree with all of that. I think for me, when I was at MI, I was like, I want to be a tour manager because I want to see the world. And everyone's like, no, you're just going to be babysitting people. It's not fun. And then I quickly learned like what in my class what that was like, and I was like, no, this is not for me. So I just happened upon distribution, but I would say the community within the music industry tends to be really open, and I can reach out to people at other companies who might even be companies that are competitors, but we all work together with the same ultimate goal of helping independent artists and being a part of mixers. And I've done a lot of mentor and mentorship programs where I've been the mentor and the mentee, because I think you can always keep learning. But any opportunity you have for anything like that, where you can just talk to people who all want the same objective and get different perspectives, really helps. And networking, because it's really all about who you know is what's going to help you break in. It's going to give you that opportunity.
Quick show of hands, who here is an artist? Artist manager or similar? Label or related? Okay, cool. All right, so let's hear from some of the artists. And well, Clayton, Clayton and Thomas, you guys wear multiple hats. Let's hear from you two.
So I feel like I'm a good bridge, right? Because when I broke in, I was like, I wanted to be a producer. The David Guetta thing didn't happen until later. So I was like a young 20-year-old, not even knowing that the DJ producer thing was a thing yet. And so my first passion was working with artists and being able to produce for them. And that's what led me to meeting Too Short. And then Too Short introduced me to Ghazi. And this is like right before Empire had started. So I say that as like a foreshadow point to your point about relationships. You never know who somebody's going to become later in life. And so relationships to me, I've always kind of been like the foundation and the gateway into whatever happened to me next. And in my journey, going from producing like Bay Area hip hop, and then when all the DJ Snake kind of Diplo era had kind of started, I was the kid from the Bay, like taking Bay Area records and remixing them into festival records. And that kind of begun my DJ producer artist journey, which I didn't even like plan on. So I think to your point, like being specific and knowing what you want is awesome. I think from an artist perspective, like if you know what you want, like go after it and be unforgiving about that. But I think my dream as a kid was I just wanted to be around it. So I didn't really know exactly where my end goal was going to be, but I just knew I loved music. I wanted to make music. I wanted to work with artists. And then it eventually put me in this place where when I moved to Los Angeles, I was getting booked as an artist. And so I kind of had to learn the framework about how to brand, how to build an artist project. It's kind of, for me, it was difficult to look at myself as that because I guess it's hard to look at something from the outside in. But as a producer, I think that's one of my gifts. I could see an artist and see all of their amazing points and say, hey, let's hone in on this. Let's build this because this is your authenticity, this is your story, and this is how we can build the soundtrack to your project. So now I find myself kind of in the middle where people help me with the projects that I work on personally. But then now being with Empire and being an A&R, I get to sign talent. I'm learning the business side still. There's so much to learn to the business side. But I feel taking that path on the creative side really helped me to understand the business and then how to do business fairly. Because I've also been fucked on the business side as a creative and didn't know how some of those deal structures worked. And now I feel like a part of my job as an A&R and finding new talent, which I'm very passionate about, is also being able to be like a big brother, a mentor, and guide younger artists into finding not only their direction and their path, but also understanding how to set their business up.
Yeah, super similar for me. I mean, I was always, yes, interested in making and producing music and being an artist, but I was also just like fascinated with how it all worked. I also, I guess maybe contrary to what these two said, I didn't know I didn't even know that what I do now as a director of A&R was even a job, or I didn't even know how to set myself up for that or whatever. But yeah, as far as on the artist side, I mean, for me, I kind of have this history of making and writing music for a lot of years, not really doing any of the house music stuff. Then, I think, I started, like everybody mentioned, at one point we start raving, and for me, I was a fan for a long time. It wasn't maybe until 6 years into raving that I decided, I think I can make music. Why don't I try to make some of this stuff? So I picked up Ableton, started to dabble around, and it took a while because I always had a job and was doing other stuff. And for me, I didn't think oh, I'm gonna be an artist without figuring out the music side first. I kind of wanted to really make music first that I was proud of. And then what I started to do once I got to that point is I just started DMing artists I liked and said, hey, I really like your DJ sets or whatever. Here's some music I've been working on, and then suddenly then I'd be on Instagram and see all these DJs playing my music, and it's still I kind of I had a weird year this past year. I didn't really do my artist stuff as much. I just had a kid. It was just I was too busy. But in previous years, I was playing more shows and stuff. But this last year though, even though I didn't really do a lot of my own shows, my music actually as a producer started to really take off. Where a lot of DJs I really were constantly playing my music. So yeah, and that was just from. I mean, I guess maybe it's different depending on your genre. But for me, it was okay. I really like this specific kind of type of house music. I'm just gonna isolate the DJs I like that play this stuff, and I'm just gonna send my music to them constantly, in a respectful way that's not annoying, And that's kind of what kind of kicked it off for me. From there, it started to stream good, and kind of started to get booking requests and stuff like that. So yeah, I kind of approached the artistry that way. I definitely took my time, but yeah.
All right, so let's hear from our artists that clearly had their path from the beginning.
Could you repeat the question? Because everyone had really different types of answers, so I completely forgot the question.
Getting started, you went to school for music specifically, right? So how do artists in the crowd begin their artist journey and start to dive in?
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to music artists, there's a lot of people that go to school for it. Some of my friends go to school for it. Like one of my best friends, her name is Chill. She graduated from Icon University, and I don't think that's around anymore, but some people do prefer to get an education on it. But there are also many talented artists who learn online and learn themselves from it. So I think that it is definitely difficult because right now, with being an artist, a lot of it is also relied on branding and marketing and building a business model around it, right? And when you are a music artist who is introverted and you're very passionate and creative, a lot of times, a lot of artists struggle with that balance of wanting to figure out the business side and how to market themselves because it's not necessarily something that comes authentically to them. But it is a really important aspect, and I think that even reading books about general marketing is really helpful, advertising, because at the end of the day, your business as an artist, you are operating like a startup. You are a business, but you are also the product maker. You are making the art too. So that is why being an artist can be a very challenging thing because you are wearing so many different hats. But as long as you enjoy the process of both, the creative of the joy of making music and also operating like an entrepreneur yourself, and you keep going at it, that's just the way we keep going as an independent artist.
So I was thinking about this because so many of the people up here have talked about how they went to raves and then they got into it, and I didn't ever go to a rave until I was singing at one. I rewind. It's always been about the song for me. I was just so willing. I don't know. I'm actually quite a shy person, and being an artist requires that I'm not. But music felt like a superpower in the sense that I was willing to sing the song I wrote about the boy I had a crush on in 6th grade in front of the whole school, but I didn't want to tell him, but it was just a song. So I felt like I just put out music. I did a Kickstarter way back when I first moved to LA, and it was like acoustic stuff, and Enhanced heard some of that like singer-songwriter music and asked me to start sending those versions to them. Nothing like clicked at first, and I didn't really understand what top lining meant. Do you guys know what top lining is? Yeah? So essentially, top lining is singing on top of a track, writing the melody and the vocals, and then you send it off to the DJs and they produce it out. But I was doing the singer-songwriter stuff, and then I released a song. I did a lot of collaborations with different producers, and one of those songs got released on Gareth Emery's label, and Gareth started playing it out. And then his team reached out and asked me to work on a song, which became my record Yesterday with him, and I flew to Minneapolis, and my first time going to a rave was singing Yesterday at the Armory with him for 6,000 people. And Tritonal opened for them that night, which is, they own Enhanced, and 2 months later, I had a song on hold with them called Electric Kids, which was on the Billboard dance charts that next fall. And so I feel like I share this because I just kept like chasing the song, and I just kept like following what excited me, and that led to this incredible journey that I'm so grateful for. But it was like saying yes to these opportunities and chasing them down and kind of like throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks.
Awesome. So let's dive a little bit about creating longevity. Obviously, breaking in is one thing, but staying relevant and continuing to grow in our journeys within the music industry, whether that's as industry professionals, as artists, that's another thing. So what are some do's and don'ts? All right, Thomas, you gave the eyebrow raise, so I'm passing you the mic.
Definitely don't burn bridges and like be a good person because like was said before, you never know where somebody's gonna end up. Somebody that you might be coming up with now might be in a different position in a few years, and you know, and like, yeah, it's really kind of all about maintaining relationships with people in a friendly way, and you want to be seen as a person that I like to think has, like, you know, like a high level character and all that stuff, and like opportunities seem to go to those people. Yeah, I mean, and then I have a few kind of thoughts aside from that. So like, as like speaking as the A&R stuff, I see like a lot of artists have like a moment, like a good year, good couple of years, but sustaining that takes quite a. It's a challenge because trends change. The sounds people are into change. You know, like 1 year it's future bass, and next year it's Afro house, and it's constantly changing. And obviously, like as an artist, you don't, you know, you I'm not saying that you go from future bass to Afro house, but you have to like be flexible and be able to like adapt. You know, like yeah, I mean, like, and it's same with like the like marketing and branding stuff. Like, we're kind of in a TikTok era right now, you know, so that's like, this is where your audience is now. So as an artist, you have to be willing to find your audience on the new platforms. And yeah, so yeah, I think just being flexible and being able to adapt as an artist and kind of like, change with the times while not compromising whatever it is your artistic kind of center is. That's important. But then the other side of that is like, well, what I mentioned is like, you know, maintaining your like network of people and just being somebody of like of high I guess moral character. If that, you just want to be like a trustworthy good person, basically. And yeah, I think that answers. Yeah.
Tommy, I really like what you said about finding a balance so that you don't have to compromise. I've been thinking a lot about this question recently, longevity, and I focus a lot on the idea of passion, right? So what makes you feel fulfilled, what drives you, which sounds and genres you're interested in most. For example, with my freelance label management work, I think about, okay, well, how is it that I want to curate my label roster? Like, is there coherence? Is there continuity? Does it feel good to me, right? So having this internal reflection while also being aware of what's happening externally. So how is the scene at the moment responding? Like, which genres are popular and fluctuating, right? So I think, like Tommy said, it's this balance of knowing what feels right for you internally and how that matches with your external experience as a person, and then also as the industry as a whole. And if I try to think a bit about the artist perspective, I immediately go to fan base for longevity. So even though you have to adapt, maintaining that connection and knowing what's needed to maintain your fan base connection.
I'm going to speak a little bit more on the operations side of things for this one. The industry is ever changing, especially when it comes to metadata compliance. I'm getting attacked by a fly. Metadata compliance, AI, artificial streaming, these are things that I deal with every single day and I talk with DSPs about. So it's talked about in the news. There's a Music Fight Frauds Alliance. People are working together to stop fraud and keep down copyright infringements, make sure that your metadata is accurate and correct, especially if you want to get paid out for the art you worked on. So keeping up with industry trends and news is super important, especially as we get into this new AI era. I can say for sure DSPs will be changing the way that they're accepting or allowing the content to be on their platform. And if you're thinking about ways that you can utilize it, keep looking at the news, go to panels, go to networking events, and have conversations with other people about their opinions on it, and just make sure that you're up to date on everything going on in that realm of things.
So for the first thing I would point out, to your point, like, trends are going to continue to change. So from a producer-writer standpoint, for me, what has, I feel, kept me relevant, quote unquote, is like, I'm a musician first, so I can produce any style of music. However, there's a difference between being an artist brand and a brand that's selling a certain type of music, talking to a specific audience, and then being a writer-producer. I feel like a lot of people get these things mixed up a lot. Like just because I can make Afro House, right? I got nominated for a Grammy in Afro Beats with an artist named Ashake and WizKid. That doesn't mean I'm a face to that genre, but I can make the music. I know how to help the artist write those type of songs. So on the back end of the business, I feel like as a writer, producer, having the ability to evolve from genre to genre, or just knowing music in general. If you, especially if you can play music, if you're a musician, you play the piano, you play the guitar, or the bass, or the saxophone, whatever it may be, like, I feel like that musicality will never go away. The only difference, the only thing that will change is the percussion and maybe the sound design. But then, so I feel like that's one thing. As a producer, writer, like, I just love making music. So that to me is what has kept me around for 15 years. Being able to adapt to different styles, see it. And then I'm also like I'm a music connoisseur. So and one of the things I love about the dance space is probably 2 to 5 years ahead of the general population, like pop culture. Like you'll generally see like a trend or music kick off in Europe or in Africa or in Latin America and kind of start in the electronic space and then eventually move its way into reggaeton or move into Afro beats or move into pop culture. And so that's where I feel like I've tried to find my balance, and that's where I found my identity as an artist. I love making electronic music because of that, and I love to be a forward thinker in music sound and sonics and evolving music. That's where I feel like the electronic space, I found my home as a creator. But then as just a writer, producer of music, I feel like understanding that just because I can make Afrobeat doesn't make me an Afrobeat artist. I'm still just a musician helping artists in this aspect. And then that's how I kind of break down like my artistry project versus when I sign talent and I look for talent. I'm looking for talent that who's being innovative, who's doing something different than everybody else. Because if you look at, if once a genre is popular, that person, there's probably 2 or 3 characters who already made that genre popular, and good luck breaking out into that genre. You're just gonna become a thing within the thing. And so I feel like being a new artist, definitely want to find that thing that makes you unique, original, and captivating. Right? But in terms of longevity, I feel like that's how I've balanced the wave music.
I love what you said because I actually deal with that too myself. Like, I also love making different genres too, but I do make a conscious decision of what I want my project to represent. And I think that's a really important thing for musicians to think about, because it's like being a good musician and is completely different from being a good artist. And yeah, that is definitely something that I think if you want to be a professional artist, it's something that you have to really think about and dive into and just think clearly about the kind of path you want to be on. But in terms of longevity, I got my foot started pretty much online. I grew by Twitch streaming at first. I wanted to play shows, but I would email promoters and I wouldn't get any responses back. And so at the time, I was like, oh, why don't I just stream on Twitch? Like, I love playing piano, I love DJing, I have no other way to show it, and I just want to show that I can improv piano over DJing. And so Twitch was like my only outlet. And at the time, this was like 6 years ago. And when I first started on Twitch, I was probably, I think me and 2 other people were the only DJs on Twitch. And so it was a really new niche thing. And at the time when I was starting it, I also started posting DJ sets on YouTube, and no one was doing that at the time. And at the time, I got a lot of like criticism from my peers. They were like, why is Jana live streaming herself on Twitch? Why is she filming herself like DJing and posting on YouTube? Because back then no one was doing it, and everyone thought it was like super cringy. But flash forward now, in this day and age, it's very common, right? You see that on social media all the time. So I'm really grateful that at the time, even though I felt a lot of criticism, I did have a good support system from my friends my partner at the time encouraging me that what I was doing was good because, well, one, I had fun doing it, and number two, I was growing rapidly from doing that. And just growing a community through streaming and Discord and YouTube and kind of doing it in an unconventional way in the beginning and having a more direct relationship to my fans is what helped me sell out my first few shows. And it wasn't until I sold out I did a show at Cornerstone Berkeley in Bay Area. Does that venue still exist?
Which one? Cornerstone?
Yeah, does it?
I don't know.
Yeah, this was like 6 years ago, but it was like a 500 cap room, and I sold it out. And from that show, I got my first agent. And yeah, it's been like 5 years now. But I think that for me at least, like having a personal relationship with my fans and is what's helped me and kept me in the game. I mean, last year I played at this venue. I did my headline show here for my last debut album, and I did a meet and greet. We capped it at 100 people, but I interacted with each one of them and thanked them, and I really like to get to know the people who buy my merch or like listen to my music. And I think there are some artists that like to position themselves like they are untouchable, and that's like totally fine too. But for me, like I like to get to know the people who support me, and I like to hear what they are saying, because I feel like as an artist, it's like so amazing that you can kind of get real-time feedback on your product, and you can talk to them, and your product is basically something they listen to feel something. They relate to it, and so I think cultivating that sort of community with the people who appreciate your art is very important. Obviously, it depends on the person, like if how comfortable they want to share their lives and share themselves. But yeah, I think that just always not being afraid to get to know them is a good tip for staying long in the game.
I think what Tommy said is so important. I think be a good person, treat people how you want to be treated. Like, I know it's a business, but you don't have to be cruel. We're still like dealing with art and stories that are so deeply personal to us. I think after that, lift other people up, like share your friend's music. Like it's free to just like share someone's song to a story on Instagram, like tell your friends about it. And have a good team that understands who you are as a person and an artist and how you want to treat other people. I feel like I hear so many horror stories about their manager like speaking to other people some way, and then it doesn't reflect you as an artist. And then for me personally, I built my career by being the featured vocalist or the top liner, but I tell everybody, I'm like, if you have a story, if you're creating art, you're not just a top liner, you're an artist. And so that has encouraged me to release solo projects the last couple years. And I've been fortunate to have some of them play on the radio, and Elaine has been a big supporter of my DJing. She gave me a shot earlier this year opening for Robin Schultz at 10:15, and that led to a string of events this year where I got my own EDC set. And we just announced this week that I'm playing Ultra in March. So I like still can't. I'm looking at the flyer. I'm like, my name's up there. Like I've spent years going to different festivals, and like I went and sang with Nicky Romero 2 years ago, and my dad was always like, "Where's your name though? Like, where's your name on the flyer?" And it's finally on the flyer. So taking control of your own music and releasing it, and the story that you want to tell.
I love that. To wrap up this question, I just wanted to kind of touch on all of that and tie it all back together. It seems like there is a theme around relationships, whether that's relationships with our peers, the people we meet along the way, because you never know who's gonna be who tomorrow, or relationships with your fans. And as you guys were talking about that, I realized, I was like, so Caitlin, I've known you for like 4 or 5 years-ish. Jana, funny enough, like came to one of my very first open door sessions events in Berkeley. This was like 7 years ago, and she was like kind of shy to play her demo. Someone like was like, play her demo. And then Clayton, we met through a friend, like Elijah and Alex. I think they're here like a few years ago, but we never did anything together until like recently. And then I met Darlene through Thomas, who then got introduced to me through Charity, our friend, a few years ago. And then Lauren last year. So it's like, I'm like, oh, I've actually like known all these people, you know, over the course of many years, and we've done so many collaborations together, and it's been so beautiful to see everyone's journey and, you know, flourish. But with that said, we have, oh, go ahead, Clayton.
Oh, then I was just gonna add, like, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but when Elaine calls me, I just show up. Because that's
100%,
my
yes.
level of respect for her and just how I see her passion and how she adds to our community. And so, again, thank you for having us.
Yeah, I want to say something too about Elaine. So the reason I got to go on an international tour with Marlo was because a song I did with Triode, who's based here, was shared with Marlo, but you made that initial connection between Triode and Marlo, right?
I didn't know until you told me.
And I did a panel, I did a workshop yesterday, and so many people came up to me afterwards, and they're like, oh, I feel like I don't have a community here, or like, I'm a singer and I need a producer, I'm a producer, I need a singer. Talk to Elaine. Go like figure out what Neon Owl is all about and talk to her.
I did start a label, actually. I forgot.
Agreed.
Awesome. All right, so we only have 5 minutes left. So do we have any burning questions from the crowd? All right. Do we have a mic down there by chance?
Over there.
Okay. Oh, there's a mic right there. You can introduce yourself and ask the question.
Okay. Hello. Okay. I'm Neva, and I am a refugee from corporate. So I worked in tech for years, and I'm transitioning to be an artist, and so obviously there's some cultural differences. I'm wondering, how do you have those conversations with people, like when you're collaborating, like to know, like, so that at the end people get credit, they get acknowledgement that they're supposed to have without making it awkward and losing the vibe?
Do that shit before or after, not during. So the business, it helps, like if you have a manager that can handle those conversations. Generally, from what I've seen, it normally happens after. And as long as you're fair, to me, your business shows your appreciation for people. So I tend to look at that, like if I value somebody that I work with, I want to make sure they're taken care of. To me, I might do that to a default, even lessening my percentage to make sure somebody else that I really respect feels respected. I don't recommend that all the time because it's definitely bitten me in the ass. But the business is the business. It's actually very easy to handle. Just make sure the art is amazing. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, I would say like with my experience at like Cyclops recordings, typically Jesse makes the product and then the contract comes after based off of like what is agreed upon, how much each person worked on the song, then that's gonna depend on what, and like what credits they're asking for. So like focusing on the art and just making it and like deciding that this is something I wanna release, and then dealing with the contracting, which would state the credits and the splits and all that afterwards.
All right. Thank you. Thank
It
you.
happens in all different kinds of ways, and unfortunately, I would say that if you're someone, most of the time it can be figured out later. But I have run into situations where my publisher puts me in a room and we write a great song, and then I find out later that the writer wants like $5,000 for the session as a writer fee and like half of the master. And we always like try to figure it out. But so if you have some like crazy demand, I would maybe bring it up beforehand. But you also, as an artist, your manager, your team could be like, hey, I'm looking for a producer, here's my budget, here's what I can offer, would you like to take the session? That's also another option. But most of the time it can be figured out after, if everyone's reasonable.
But that person, that writer who does that, more often than not, they get X'd out later. I try to avoid those people.
I'll answer this from like a more general, like a mindset perspective. I think it's challenging because in corporate, you're not gonna go to work if you're not getting your check, right? Then when it becomes like your art, there's this like gray line of like, I really wanna work with this artist, I really want this opportunity. And in the beginning, you have to like eat a lot of shit, unfortunately. But eventually you also have to like own your worth. And it's a mindset of like, okay, I'm gonna walk into this room like knowing my worth and being willing to walk away from that deal or that collaboration if this person isn't respecting me, but it's hard. It's hard, and as a woman, I think it's harder sometimes. And so it's like putting in the work and paying your dues, but also being okay to like walk away from a shitty situation and trust that the next more fitting and better opportunity will come along. We have, okay, a really quick one. Okay, you can jump up here really quick. Oh wait, you have a question, you're there, okay.
I have a question. I'm Sebastian. I have a question for you guys. So in a war where the TikTok is right now, like you like go trending, right, for like 48 hours, right? Literally. So how like longevity means like for an artist right now? Because you know what I mean? Like right now you can go like viral in tomorrow. I can go viral tomorrow, but on Monday I'm nothing. You know what I'm saying?
I don't understand the question.
I will just say that there are artists who can get 300 likes on a post but sell out 2,000 cap rooms.
Okay.
And then have 100K monthly listeners. And there are also artists who have 1 million monthly listeners and can't sell out 200 cap rooms. So it really depends on the kind of like artist you want to be and what's your goals. I think a lot of artists can go on a downward spiral about social media and TikTok because at the end of the day, like all we want to do is make music and make art, right? But you know, there's various paths to what defines success, and I think that just depends on what's important to you.
All right, thank you.
I actually have a quick comment on that as well. So from the like A&R perspective, I get nervous when somebody goes viral, you know, and comes and tries to ask for a bag or something for the song because it's like, can you follow this up? So I like, yes, like don't get me wrong, everybody wants to go viral, of course, but it needs to be on a foundation of like real artistry and like solid music and solid product and stuff, because otherwise it's like you go viral, cool, and then that's it, like you know, on to the next thing, right? So yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's how I would respond to that.
Okay, a really quick one, we have to wrap. Is that good? Okay. All right, that's all the time we have for today. Let's give it up for all of our speakers one more time. If you have more questions, we'll be hanging out here so you guys can come talk to us, but thank you so much.